Awesome.
What was that, Phil?
I'm sorry, the thing spoke over me. I said,
Oh, right. Okay. Phil's pleading the fifth, I think. So, all right, guys. So such an amazing response to this webinar. I'm so excited. There seems to be a lot of folks who want to know how to market your smaller mid-sized law firm. So that's great. So thank you for joining us today with my friend Phil. And this is us. So I put this up yesterday and people were messaging me. They thought it was so funny. Sort of like tongue in cheek kind of thing. Because I put like, obviously, like that's me and that's Phil. So Phil, can you introduce yourself for those who don't know you?
Sure. I appreciate it, Steph. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
So I'm the head of sales and marketing for Leopard Solutions. For those that don't know, I've been in the legal industry more on the vendor side for the last 20 years, helping law firms and legal recruiters, consultants, university, law schools, corporations use data more effectively to grow their business, to market themselves, to help with retention and recruiting and so on. So so yeah, so I'm happy to be here, help out.
Awesome. Yeah. So Phil's been in this business for, I don't know, Phil, 20 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So same with me. So I was in-house as a marketer. I started at Paul Weiss. I was at Sullivan and Cromwell, Mofo, Mayer Brown, Proskauer, and then I left Big Law and went to Tarter Krinsky and Drogan. They had 70 lawyers. They grew to 85 when I was there. So mid-sized firm, completely fish out of water. At Sullivan and Cromwell, we had a fax department, which meant we had like 5 guys that faxed. And we had everything at these firms, Proskauer, cafeterias, like all these things. I was doing the strategy, but I was doing everything else under the sun. And for those of you who have been at a smaller firm, you know that you absolutely have to do more with less money, less resources, and the lawyers still expect you to do every darn thing under the sun, and they are just as demanding as the lawyers at a 500 lawyer firm and expect just as much. And so it was me and a coordinator. And the key to my success there, and they expected a lot, especially because what they were paying for marketing was a lot. And, one of the lawyers said to me, Phil, I thought this was so interesting. He goes, "You're a cost center. You're not a revenue generator." And I said to him, "You're absolutely wrong, actually. And if you think about marketing like that, it's not, you're thinking about it all wrong." So, I eventually now, left and I consult with exclusively only small and mid-sized firms and legal service providers. But I really enjoy the work I do. And I think there's such an opportunity for small and mid-sized firms. And Phil, you guys represent 40% of the AmLaw 200, but you guys also work with plenty of small and mid-sized firms too, right? And so they need to be utilizing data and legal intelligence as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. The conversations that we have, it doesn't matter if it's, the AmLaw 200 or a firm. We worked with a firm last month or, towards the end of last year. It was a 5-attorney firm that just, was a spinoff from a large firm. And they're a very focused boutique firm in DC, and they're looking to grow. And we're, trying to help them as much as we are trying to help others. And the challenges that every firm experiences and the difficulties and the things that people talk about internally about their firm and that they have to struggle with and the needs, it doesn't matter really. It's sort of agnostic based on size. It's pretty interesting.
I would agree, and I would tell you that I outsourced almost everything because I had so many things internally. So that's one of my tips for success as a marketer at a smaller mid-sized firm. And if I know we have a lot of lawyers on this webinar today, I would tell you to outsource. So this is one of my tips. I usually wait until the end, but I think this is something worth bringing up. And actually, for those of you who know Rich Bracken, he's the one who showed this to me many years ago. So this is something you can all find yourselves in the LinkedIn app. And it's on the main screen when you go to the LinkedIn app in the search bar at the top. So you have to double click on the search bar and the QR code appears on the right-hand side. If we have time at the end, and also guys, if you have questions, you can either put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A, and Phil and I will get to them at the end, and Phil can answer them as we go along, because I'm sure I'll talk more than Phil. But do this, and if you just hold up your phone, you can scan it and you'll be taken to our profile. If you're not linked in with us, you can link in with us right now. This is a great tip for you guys and your lawyers. This should be on everybody's presentations from now until eternity. I used to do this all the time, and then COVID happened and I stopped doing it, but you should do it. Another tip I have for you is to always put URLs to your LinkedIn profiles in the chat of the webinars you're doing as well. Like, so for lawyers, I would recommend you do that. It facilitates networking as well. So we'll be putting ours in there as well, but this is just a like little handy tip so I can show you guys how to find.
Yeah, and I Steph, I think, you know, utilizing LinkedIn and keeping connected with people as much as possible right now with everything, you know, I mean, we're just starting to travel a little bit, I guess. Some folks, I know what marketing partner forums going on this week. We were down in LMA, you know, back in the fall. It is imperative to figure out different ways to stay in contact with people. So I think that's a great tip.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, like, so one of my big tips, I do work with Leopard, and that's how I've known Phil for many years. So like, obviously relationships are key to success, and I really do believe in what they do. But I will tell you that webinars were one of the keys to our business development success in 2021. Putting the links to register for the webinars was such a great way to get registrations this year. So you absolutely shouldn't be shy to do that. If someone's on your webinar now, they want to go to your potential next webinar. So don't hesitate to put that in there. And this is not too much, like, to put your LinkedIn. It makes it easy for people, to find you. Okay. So speaking of that, I'm going to put the link to this, but I'm doing a webinar with Paula Edgar, who is amazing. You should follow her on LinkedIn. She's a diversity consultant who works with many law firms and corporations. And there are a lot of Heritage Months coming up. You know, I can't tell you how many I saw, like, people and law firms putting like MLK Day posts up, and I know they don't even have any diverse lawyers. So we're going to talk about how to do this with Black History Month and Women's History Month coming up, and all the other months over the course of the year, and how to actually do this in an authentic way, and not just pay lip service to it. So this is a pop-up webinar we're doing on the 26th. I'll put the link to it if you want to register a little bit later. Okay, that's the bit.ly link. So, and then I've got a webinar coming up on February 25th on using LinkedIn to build your brand and business, because that is a huge, I'm not going to get into this today, but that is a huge tip for small and mid-sized firms. Okay, so relationships, that is the primary lifeblood to any law firm, company, whatever you do. And referral sources, they have work to refer, so why not to you? So, and Phil, you can tell me if you agree with this, but here's the thing, right? For a small and a mid-sized firm, the big law firms discount so many people and firms from being referral sources, right? Like, they usually don't want to invite other lawyers to their programs. So they're like, take them off the list, take them off the alumni list. They're so fearful of other lawyers. They think only in-house counsel are referral sources, and it's so short-sighted. Solo practitioners, great referral sources. People who are close to retirement age, absolutely, they are looking to potentially refer their work to somebody else. Somebody who's thinking about going, I didn't put this on my list, somebody's going in-house. So a friend of mine was a consultant. She referred all of her clients to me. I wound up taking on 3 of them, but this was last year because I had no bandwidth, but and some of them were in a good fit. You never know. And she doesn't know me that well. She referred them to me because of LinkedIn, because she saw my posts on LinkedIn. Right. Again, LinkedIn being a great referral source. Yeah. Small law firms, other law firms, big firms that are conflicted out of matters, or the matters aren't big enough for them, right? A lawyer at my last firm got business from the associate who he summered with from Cahill Gordon, right? So he was a lawyer at a big firm at one point. When you go through an experience like being in the trenches with somebody, there's no substitution for that. Like, they stayed in touch over the years through LinkedIn, through whatever it was, and he never forgot this guy. He referred to Matter years ago. Phil, what were you going to say?
No, I 100% agree. I mean, I think anyone that does sales or marketing, specifically within the legal industry, knows that relationships are going to be the driver, the big driver, and people buy from the people they like, right? And relationships you have with, different firms. There's, I brought up that 5-attorney firm. They specialize in some key aspects of things that they do down in the DC area, and they're actually going to be, their purpose and their growth strategy is reaching out to other firms to kind of promote the fact that they specialize in this niche little function and market that as their strategy. And it's not necessarily they're not marketing directly to clients; they're marketing to other firms that maybe don't have the need or the time or the bandwidth to cover this specialized piece of work. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in that area.
Absolutely. And that's why I say, like, there's plenty of work to go around. Some law firms do actually need to market to other law firms. And think about your alumni networks. We're going to talk about alumni in a minute, but every single firm has alumni. That means people who left your firm. They may have gone to other firms. Again, like, also competitors, by the way. Wait, let me go back to alumni. Alumni are, for you, are people at your former firms and people also at educational institutions. COVID is a great reason to reach out to people for so many reasons. Like, it's not weird to reach out to someone you haven't been in touch with in 20 years. You could say, gosh, it's been so long. Like, what a crazy isolating time. How are you? You see on LinkedIn that they got a new job or promoted. This notification section is the #1 catalyst to new business. I have found throughout the years, and I've done a business development coaching program with lawyers, that, so it's a little bell on the right-hand side, that is key for you guys. So use that. And they're coming up. Phil, I said this to you the other day. They're coming up every day. Don't you see them? Like, so-and-so got promoted. So-and-so switched jobs. People don't send emails or V cards anymore when they get a new job. It's on LinkedIn, and it's up to you to do the due diligence and make a note and update your CRM. And if your firm, by the way, does not have a CRM, that is the thing you need to do in 2022. Because if you're keeping your contacts in an email, like in your Outlook, and then you have a spreadsheet, or you're putting them in your email marketing software, you are 5 years behind the times.
Yeah, it's just you got to keep your data clean. I mean, I think that's fundamental, and I think everyone would agree with that. But it's there's just so much low hanging fruit out there, and I think some of the things that you're talking about. I mean, it's just such a crazy time right now where there's so much change going on, and movement, people moving around so much. It's just great. It's just great to stay connected and keep that contact information up to date and accurate.
Stay top of mind. So just like we said, make building relationships your priority and make business development a priority. Business development doesn't have to be icky. It doesn't have to be selling yourself or having an elevator pitch or sending your bio and like a practice description with every single email you send. It doesn't have to be selling yourself or having an elevator pitch. It's about just building relationships, caring about people. I don't, a lot of lawyers think that, being a good lawyer is enough, and it's actually not. There are so many good lawyers. The difference between a good lawyer today and a great lawyer today are lawyers who actually market. And so, oh, by the way, I see some questions about do I have recommendations for a cost-effective CRM system? I actually do. I would recommend that you talk to, I'm going to give you guys the name of someone who is a CRM consultant. Her name is Chris Fritsch, and just message me and I'll give you her info. She's a CRM consultant and she can set you up with a very cost-effective system and help you. She's a friend of mine. Okay. So here's the challenge I face as the head of marketing. And today I have a number of clients that are small firms, from 3 lawyers to 50. When you're not a household name, it's a huge challenge, like to get into the media, to win an award, to do anything. Okay. It's different. If I called up a reporter and I still worked at Proskauer, I would get a very different response than if I called up a reporter and I'm from a firm they've never heard of. But you want your clients, prospects, and recruits and the media to remember and reach out to you also when they have a relevant matter. So there's 2 things. There's media, and then there's visibility, and then there's business development. And marketing helps you with this. I also believe that referrals are still the best way to get clients. It's just the easiest way. I also think for what we do as solo or marketers with very small teams, outsourcing is the best thing to do. So one of the first things I did was say, who do I know in the industry who can help me do my job better? And Phil, you have a small team, and you also outsource to people who can help you. I also believe that there are things that you have at a big law firm that you take for granted. So like I had an outside PR agency, I had an outside creative agency, I had internal like data intelligence, I had a CRM system, you name it, I had it. So one of the things that you could outsource is competitive intelligence, data, all that sort of thing. So when it comes to working with small and mid-sized firms, can you tell us like what that's like?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest challenge that we've heard from small and mid-sized firms is just bandwidth, right? And time. You don't necessarily have the staff to account for all the recruiting needs, the IT needs, the knowledge management needs, the marketing needs. There might be the executive director, it might be depending on the size, it might be one person in marketing, one person in recruiting. It's a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done from a very small amount of people. So there are a lot of specialists in a lot of different fields, and there's recruiters that help out with things. There's data providers, there's CRM providers, there's consultants, there's a lot of areas where I think from a cost perspective, an efficiency perspective, it is certainly working with outside vendors that you trust, that can provide and deliver, I think is extremely valuable. I don't think there's any question about it, especially for, again, the firms that just don't have the staff to get the stuff that needs to be done.
Yeah. And I also think, you can really fail in a job like this when they expect a lot and you don't have the staff for it, and you have to prioritize. Like I got myself in trouble a few times, like in terms of just having way too much on my plate, a lot of ideas, and just not being able to execute, or, not being able to be proactive because I had to deal with so many things in my inbox every day. And also, you've got 60 lawyers, 50 lawyers who want everything, but you can't possibly do that and create strategy and manage BD and PR and marketing and content and pitches and CRM. One of my friends is a CMO at a 60 lawyer firm, and she has to implement and then roll out a CRM. That is a project that could take up 100% of her time. There is no way she can do anything else. So that's when you need to call in a consultant to help you do that. I also think recruiting today needs to be part of your marketing strategy in order to effectively market your firm. So if you don't have a recruiting marketing strategy and you're not working with recruiting on helping them market the firm effectively, that's something you need to be doing now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's client, everyone wants to develop clients, right? Clients are going to be the ones
Mhm.
that develop business and bring the money in. But, you should be 100% marketing, not only to external attorneys and firms, but also to your own folks. I mean, retaining your key folks and not losing them, and potentially losing the business that goes with them, I think is just as tremendously valuable as anything else.
It's a good point. Just as with clients, it is much easier to keep a client and expand the business than it is to get a new client. So it's the same thing with your people. And, firms are losing people all the time, as you'll find out on that webinar that Phil put in the chat. So CRM, I mentioned this before, but this is so important, because if you guys are thinking about sending out in any email marketing, which you absolutely should be, this is, I think, the most effective way to engage with your prospects and clients, even more so than social, because this is the most direct way. If your lists are good, and by the way, if you don't have CRM, you don't know if your lists are good. So you need to house your content somewhere, your contacts somewhere. They can't be in the phones of your partners or in a spreadsheet. And you need to think about email segmentation. If you are sending a litigation alert to an M&A lawyer, they may find it applicable, but they may also get annoyed that you're not sending them content that's applicable to them. You want to stay top of mind with your clients and prospects. And the best way to do it is through helpful, interesting content. And it doesn't matter if your competitors are doing it or the big firms are doing it. They want to know that you know what's going on in their world. That's why. And this is so important. It also is important to be posting these alerts to your website and on social, because it also, again, makes you top of mind. It helps with your SEO, all of these things. Okay. So if you've got lawyers, you've got people to write content. So you got to get a content calendar together and get them to be doing this. Email marketing is not about sending emails that are about you and how great you are, the awards you won. Never, ever, ever send emails about super lawyers and your wins or anything, or press releases. The only one that's acceptable to do, I think, are partner promotions or something like that, but it's never about vanity things. It's about your clients. And if you can't answer those questions about how great you are, what's in it for my clients, you should just stop and not hit send. So those things you can post on social, but those things you absolutely don't want to just waste your emails on to your clients. Okay. So market intelligence, market insight, competitor intelligence, market knowledge, all of these things are so important. In this market, we've seen like mergers, firm mergers, and that is something you may be interested in doing. And one of my jobs at my firm was to like monitor my competitors, and that was really hard to do because I could only do it with what was available to me, and it also took a lot of time. There are tools that help you do that. They're usually really expensive, and most people don't know what they're doing. Like, you don't need a Bloomberg terminal because it doesn't have the info you're looking at. So like, Phil, if I like am at a smaller firm and I'm trying to look at like, maybe we want to merge with another firm, or maybe like they're asking me to look at my competitors and seeing what they're doing or how they're doing, other than setting up a Google search or like looking at what they're doing on LinkedIn and looking, I can set my competitors and LinkedIn company pages. Like, do you have suggestions of what else I could be doing without breaking the bank?
Yeah, I mean, I saw someone's comment about that. I mean, that's obviously a challenge, right? Is cost as well, and I mean, we provide data, and there's a number of great reputable organizations out there that provide a lot of good data. Sometimes you just there's investments that need to be made, and I think working with a reputable organization that provides good data that you've vetted properly, I'm sure there's ways that they can work with you and pricing things that make sense for the size of the firm that you're working with. I think, what we try and do at our organization is, we have a lot of different kind of subscription options because, you have a lot of different, subscription types. Like I had mentioned before, I've have history of working with law firms, all different size firms, recruiting firms, solo shops up to the very largest recruiting firms in the industry, law schools, corporations, very large Fortune 1000 corporations. I mean, it's, you got to price things based on the use case, based on the need, based on how on the size of the organization. So we can certainly, help organizations. But yeah, I mean, doing things, there's certain ways to analyze your competitors, but sometimes an investment is the key. I think you need to find certain tools that offer a lot of different possibilities for the firm. It's hard because a lot of things are very specific and offer very key things that can help with client research. There's certain things that can help with news alerts and keeping up to speed on information that is new to the firm. You want to find something that can fill as many holes and as many buckets and expand your dollars as much as possible. So certain tools can provide that and check off as many boxes as possible.
Yeah, and Phil, so I'm just stopping sharing for 1 second because a couple of people are asking for some links, so I'm just gonna put them in
Sure.
here.
Absolutely.
So Phil, in terms of putting a pitch together and doing some research, what would do you have any suggestions on what people should be doing?
I mean, you got to look at it. There's certain things, right? So if you're pitching business to a client, you want to, just a lot of times those RFPs dictate a lot of the key things of what, what you should be selling, right? You want to, diversity is a big aspect of things right now. Law firms should tout the diversity hiring they're doing.
Mhm.
There's a lot of internal knowledge that a firm has that can be utilized in a lot of those pitches. And that's information that can be shared without going to an outside resource. But when you go to an outside resource, they can certainly keep that information a little bit more verified and a little more up to date. Things like the growth of the law firm by headcount, how well they've been at retaining folks. Are they growing in certain functional areas or practice areas? Are they growing in certain regions of the country that really tailor to the type of work that the client is looking for? Are they staffing up in certain areas? Do they have access to referral networks in case they're not able to perform that work that's necessary? So I mean, these are all the things. I mean, billing rates, client competition, all those things are important. But it's obviously is a lot of aspects and a lot of metrics that I think can be combined to really sell themselves as they're pitching it.
Yeah, cool. All right, thanks, Phil. All right, another one that's so important for firms. I think that there are a lot of firms that don't think alumni relations is for them if they haven't been around for 100 years or if they have less than 200 lawyers. Not true. You need an alumni relations program. So alumni data, so important to track. I'm not going to go through all of these things. Just think about creating an alumni program. Maybe all of these things aren't things you're going to do. At least try to get your alumni data together. Your alumni are brand ambassadors, recruiting. They're prime for recruiting. They'll talk good things about your firm or not. That's why you want to neutralize them. And Phil, I don't know if you could put the article that you guys published on JD Supra for alumni relations, but I think that would be a good resource if you don't mind. But absolutely. I think this is just a really terrific kind of thing. So alumni relations is very helpful. If you guys want any more information about how to start an alumni relations program, feel free to reach out. Okay. All right. LinkedIn, you guys knew I was going to say LinkedIn, right? So there's a link to come to another program about LinkedIn, but this is where you need to be. Number one, you need a LinkedIn company page. Okay. And your firm needs a LinkedIn page. Your lawyers need to be on LinkedIn. And you need to train them how to use LinkedIn. They need to know how to build their connections and then how to share information from your firm page. Okay? This is where your clients and prospects are. This is where, like I said, you go to the notification section on LinkedIn and you congratulate someone on a new job. And then you start building the conversation. This is where you find people. This is where you promote webinars, events. This is where you go and you see that so-and-so wrote a book, and then you can promote your client's book. It is where everything happens. It's where most of my business has come from. It's where I was not even trying to get business and I still was getting business. Also, recommendations on LinkedIn is another great area where like people can, talk about the lawyer's successes and people read that. So I got a passive client. Like I wound up getting a client because somebody saw something that somebody said about me in a recommendation, and it turned out that that person's opinion of me mattered. And so you never know. There's so many things that go into it. The thing I want you to take away from this is that you need, for the company and each lawyer, a very good LinkedIn cover image that has your contact information and describes what they do, what your firm does, not just a cityscape or the firm name. It needs to be more than that in 2022. So I'll talk about that in a different program. But by the way, any lawyer who says, I don't use LinkedIn, I don't need it, I don't believe in social media. Here's the thing. Doesn't matter if you use it once a year, every day, once a century. It's still the #2 Google search result for anyone. So sorry.
And I think there's just so much valuable opportunity to generate from your relationships. The relationships on LinkedIn. We just came out with a kind of a relationship mapping tool, a connection mapping tool, utilizing historical, connections, education, and so on. And there's been a lot of interest from firms of all different sizes to use it for helping their attorneys really understand, you went to law school with this person, you graduated, 10 years ago. Reach out to the person, check in, see how they're doing. So, like you mentioned earlier, COVID. This is a great opportunity for folks to reconnect virtually and just check in and see, if there's any needs. Is there an opportunity for them to, potentially come to the firm as a hire? It's a great opportunity for recruiting as well as for client development. So I think, utilizing relationships, not only from like LinkedIn or from other tools, I think is, again, is a tremendous opportunity that individuals can take advantage of.
Okay. And so another thing that's important is PR. So, okay, one of the biggest hurdles I had working at a mid-sized firm was that the agencies that I've used at Big Law, and tell me in the chat if you guys have had this challenge as well, they wouldn't work with me anymore because they had a minimum of 10,000 a month, or at the very least. Some of them had 15,000 minimum. And then one agency took me on, but they made me feel like I wasn't that important, and I will never tell who it is. They work with big firms who pay them 15 to 25,000 a month. So, I remember one of the lawyers in the interview process said to one of these firms, how do I know you're going to advocate for me versus like, Morrison and Foerster or Sullivan and Cromwell? And the PR person didn't know what to say. And so we did not hire them. And PR was not easy, right? So I really wasn't happy with any of the agencies. And so, it was tough, right? I had a limited budget and I wasn't, I had to manage the lawyers' expectations. They wanted to be in the Wall Street Journal. Sorry, it's not really going to happen. Because it was not easy to even get, the top 20 lawyers in the Wall Street Journal. So the thing is, like, PR does give your firm gravitas. You have to be, I think, realistic. Trade publications are probably going to work better for you. And I also, that's why I believe in, like, so there's earned media, which is getting your name in the press, and then owned media. The best way to get your name in the press is to create like a survey, a study. That's something Leopard does really, really well. Like, original piece of thought leadership. Some firms do that well. Fulbright and Jaworski years ago was doing a litigation survey. MoFo does surveys. Like, when you can be the news, that's when you get in the media. So mid-sized firms absolutely do that. There's some labor and employment firms that do that. And this kind of stuff helps your Google search results. You can publish your own stuff as well. And this is also good for like third-party recognitions. And now the owned media would be like blog posts and client alerts and things like that. They don't usually rank in Google. That's why a content syndicator is incredibly helpful. I'll talk about this in a minute. All of you need like a JD Supra. In my opinion, that's the one that I found to be the most helpful. They don't pay me, so this is just my experience. It was the first thing I did when I got to my mid-sized firm, and it's the first thing I did for like lots of my clients that are willing to do it. Immediately, your Google search results will improve. So if you're not getting any traction with your content, you want to get a content syndicator to help you. Okay. Content marketing also needs to be part of your strategy, and it keeps you top of mind. I mentioned, articles, client alerts, educational content is so important. You need to invest in this. Phil, in terms of what you guys have done at Leopard, do you think this has helped your brand?
Yeah, I mean, look, we publish a lot of data, and the data in itself can tell a story, and that story can be utilized to attract interest and attract information that people want to learn about. So we try and use the data as a way to generate interest and to increase eyeballs, right? Law firms have plenty of content, producing attorneys with great thought leaders that they can all be used for, great ways to leverage their firm and to promote their specialties and their focus. And I think a lot of firms do it. I think it's just taking that data and figuring out the right way to repurpose it and put it in front of, again, either the clients or others that are interested in potentially joining their organization.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And I'll talk a little bit about repurposing your content in a minute, but educational content, not promotional content, is honestly like it's the way to stand out. So I also believe, I'll talk about this in a minute, evergreen content. So, okay, here's the other thing. Once I got to a smaller firm, I was getting all of these like ridiculous paid opportunities, or they didn't say they were paid, but then they were, or the lawyers would come to me and say, oh, I just got this opportunity. It looks like I'm going to be recognized as the best lawyer in the universe, but I only have to pay. I think it's like $20,000. Do you think we should do it? And I would be like, no. Or I'm going to be best lawyers. Do I need a plaque? Or they say I can be on the front page of Best Lawyers if we give them $10,000. No. So beware of these things. If it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. They like to go to the lawyers directly. I don't pay for things. A lot of people are nervous about what if we don't pay? Does that mean we won't get ranked? No. It shouldn't. And if it does, screw them. You don't want to be in it. So I know sometimes it's nerve-wracking. You're worried your rankings will go down, but there really should not be a correlation between the advertising side and the editorial side. And if it is, so anyway, I wanted to tell you guys, Igor Alinsky keeps a list of the bogus awards and the really reputable ones, and they're published, I forget where, but I think it's on the LME.
Yeah, I think I've seen it circulate around on social media somewhere.
Yeah, you guys can find it. If you guys, I can put it in the follow-up to the program also. Someone may have it handy. If they want to put it in the chat, feel free. And then, I just think, always seek out ways to add value. This is not anything new. Find ways to help your contacts, be a resource. I've helped people. So one of the tips I had for lawyers in my business development program was to help people who are looking for jobs, or people who are going on vacation and you've been to that place. Just take a few minutes to send them some tips for restaurants. It really does help. One of my, oh, thank you, Sarah. Awesome. That was so fast. One of my clients said that his client was shocked that he asked him how his weekend was. He never asked. And I just find that crazy. Ask your clients how they're doing and build that relationship, because that is the lifeblood of this entire thing. Yeah, thank you. My least favorite ones are the ones from it's Hispanic executive, it's all of those ones put out by that company, Guerrero Press. They are the worst because they reach out to the client directly and make it sound like the client wants you to buy the ad on their behalf. And it's literally like extortion. So I have an article about that. Don't ever pay for those and feel like you need to. Okay, so I mentioned, do you have a recruiting marketing strategy? Because for small and mid-sized firms, this is so important. I have a follow-up materials I can send to you guys on this, but this needs to be part of your content calendar. So on the website, you should be doing some social posts about your recruiting marketing. And so what's a social post with respect to recruiting marketing? Go on Glassdoor, pick, and Chambers Associate, pick, if there are quotes there, pick some of your good quotes on reviews on Glassdoor. If you don't have any, ask current associates and lawyers to give you a quote about what it's like to work at your firm, and then periodically publish them on your social and put them on your website. What were you gonna say?
I think this, no, I was gonna say, I think this is tremendously important. We hear this a lot, and this is probably the area we work with firms the most. You know, we track laterals. We actually, during our State of the Legal Market webinar last week, and it's going to be part of our white paper, where we looked at the laterals that left, let's say, top 200 firms. We hear from mid-sized firms all the time, how can we keep the bonuses that are being paid now to the top 200? You know, how can we compete with that and this and that? So we actually looked at the data from the last year, and we saw that of all the laterals that left, irrespective of practice area or type or anything like that, only a little over 30% of them actually went to another top 200 firm. And actually 11% of all the laterals that left in the last year went to under top 200 firms. So they left a top 200 firm and went to an under top 200 firm. So a good percentage of attorneys are going. I think what law firms need to do is look at the things that separate themselves from the rest, regardless of what that is or the size of your firm. If you're an IP boutique in, a certain part of the country, and you have a strength there, or you have strength in diversity, or your retention is strong, after people come, they eventually stay for a set period of time, and then they get promoted to partner, the satisfaction, the different things they're doing to retain folks, offering different types of work-life balances. All those things, I think they need to be promoting and marketing exceptionally in their strategy to recruit folks.
Yeah, it's all great points. Also, like the ability to work on matters, like independently and have more autonomy over your work, and all of those things that make a smaller firm appealing. Learn faster, quicker, all of those things. This should be part of your content and social strategy. So make sure, and highlight those lawyers. So I mentioned before on when I was talking about social, do a lawyer spotlight series. And it isn't like in your face about recruiting, but mention like the lawyer, what it's like to work at the firm, and have the person talk about why they chose the firm and what they do. And it'll be implicit that working at your firm has given them so many opportunities to grow and flourish. So that's the kind of thing. There are so many benefits to working at a small or mid-sized firm in terms of the kind of experience you get that you don't get at a bigger firm. So, and these are, I wrote an article a couple of years ago, and it comes up if you Google me. It's called like what to say when you have nothing to say on social, and these are in there. But I'll show you guys in a minute. Also, focus on your lawyer bios. So 80% of website traffic goes to lawyer bios directly because it comes through Google. So make sure your lawyer bios are updated several times a year, really reflect what the lawyers do, that you're spending the time and effort on them, and that they have keywords in them to help with your SEO. The other thing, guys, I was going to talk about something else, but I forgot this is here. This is such a pain point for me. I've worked on 3 chambers submissions knowing that there was no shot in hell that these law firms were going to get on Chambers. Okay. And I said to them, guys, I don't think this is worth it. And they said, well, we're paying you to do it, so we want you to do it. And I was like, okay. When I was in-house, I had no choice. And I get you're stuck in a situation where you can't get out of it. I think that's a U2 song, actually. Stuck in the moment and you can't get out of it. Yeah. You have to set realistic expectations with them that, like, you know, this is like so much work, especially if it's just you and a coordinator, or outsource it. But don't ask me to do it because I'm not doing it for you. There are Chambers consultants out there who will. I hate these. The other thing is I get creative when I do them, because if they're looking at, like, if you're trying to rank in New York real estate and you're, you know, you don't have the top level matters that, like, you know, a Fried Frank has, which is like top law firm for real estate, you have to bucket them together. So, like, do them all, like, put 6 matters under one umbrella of, like, you know, helping shape the New York skyline, and then put 6 matters under them. That's how I would get away with it. But you know, I let them know this is going to take you away from doing a lot of other things. And is it worth doing? So that's what I try to do. But I know sometimes a partner X wants you to do it and you have no choice. So yeah.
Yeah, you have a roadmap, but then all of a sudden something becomes a hot priority that you have to drop everything and do it, right?
Your life is hijacked by these, and you don't want to. A lot of times, Phil, you know this with lawyers, it's egos. So there's nothing you can do. The other thing I would say is write good client alerts. I just told a lawyer I wouldn't publish a client alert for them because it was basically regurgitating news that just happened. It was like the moratorium on evictions in New York was lifted, and it was basically reporting on that. There wasn't any, like, what does this mean for you? And I said, you have to rewrite it to tell a story about what's important about this. And either he's going to do that or we're not publishing it. So do that. Try at least. I know sometimes you don't feel like you can. Okay. I already mentioned JD Supra to amplify your content, and then proactively manage your online reviews. This is so important. You can control some of this stuff. If you've got really crappy Glassdoor reviews, which a lot of firms do, you can mitigate that by getting your employees to write good ones. You don't just have it done on the same day. It has to be stealth, but do it. And there are other reviews out there like Avro, like, you know, other things. You should go in there and just make sure that these look good, because with a smaller firm, people are looking, you know, you don't have as much online presence as a big firm. So these things do matter when someone's Googling you. So I've done another program and I have an article about this, but managing your online reviews is important. Look at the Google reviews as well. One of my firms had like a disgruntled, like, real estate client who was saying negative things about them, and they just called them and like talked it through, and then they took down the review. So I would recommend doing that. Evergreen content is your best friend. So this is what I was mentioning before, the lawyer bio or practice group series, repurposing client alerts, like 10 reasons why you need a will. Client alerts, turn videos into alerts into podcasts, slice up webinars into short video segments. Okay, so this is what you do when you don't have anything to say and when you need more content. Like, there are firms, you don't need a ton of content every day, and you also don't have the bandwidth to manage that content. So use what you have and then repurpose it. Post it multiple times. Nobody knows, no one remembers, and you're not spamming anybody. They're not following you every day. And the algorithm on social doesn't let you do that. Okay. I already mentioned this. And then develop a social strategy aligned to your BD goals, but don't feel like you have to be on every channel. Another big mistake I see small firms and mid-sized firms make, you do not need a TikTok. Please don't. You don't need Instagram, maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you are one person in marketing or 2 people, you do not need Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Snapchat, LinkedIn. But you do need to be on LinkedIn. You need a company page. I talked about training lawyers. They need to know how to share. and then use the notification section, okay? And then also be strategic with sponsorships. I don't think you should just spend money willy-nilly to have your name plastered on certain things, especially now with COVID. I also try to get a speaking slot for my clients or my firm as often as I can.
I think in events, conferences, I think we're all noticing this. I mean, I don't think this is news to anyone. I think everything is evolving in this world. So you really need to think about things a little differently than you've kind of always done things in the past, because the organizations that can figure out different ways to bring, firms and clients and, vendors and consultants together, I think they're going to be the ones that are going to are worth pursuing. So you gotta think a little differently than, this is what we've always done in the past.
Absolutely. And again, like if it's too good to be true, it might be. Also, sometimes you have to just ask. A lot of opportunities with sponsorships, like you don't necessarily think like is there an opportunity for speaking, or just give them a proposal and say, we'd really love to also speak. And I was telling Phil the other day, like there are a lot of hidden speaking engagements out there. And those of you also like marketing folks on here, know that for yourselves. Sometimes like you don't even know about these opportunities. They're not, it's not because it's not like through a call for speakers. They just appear, or you see something or you hear about it, submit to it. PLI, by the way, is one of those areas where you can submit your lawyers to speak. And a lot of them have like lawyer faculty every single year, the same darn people, but they're actually sometimes like opportunities and looking for like new lawyers to do it. So I would highly recommend this. CLE programs are so helpful to do this. And one of the lawyers at my mid-sized firm wound up getting a call from a new client because they found him on a New York City bar faculty list of a CLE program, and it legitimatized him. And it was like he was a construction lawyer, and it was like neighboring licensing agreements. And there are not many lawyers who do that, but she Googled neighboring licensing agreement lawyer New York, and he came up. So that was like how he got the call. So it actually does make a difference to be a speaker. I highly recommend that. Oh, and this takes me to this point. It's one of the best ways to provide values to clients and then build your brand in general, and especially backlinks. So they will oftentimes, so you want to become like famous or build your firm's brand, put backlinks, like get people to put backlinks to your website, to your bios. And if they are starting to link to you as a speaker or your LinkedIn profile, that's a great way to do it. And a backlink, by the way, just means that they're hyperlinking to your website. That's what you want. So like you ask them, like, can you, hyperlink me or my firm, whatever it is. Okay, so webinars and CLEs are so important. I can send you guys this article. I just wrote an article about repurposing your website content and turning your website content into your webinars into blog posts. And I think this is just like so important to do. By the way, to that question about getting CLE accreditation for multiple jurisdictions, I don't know about certain states, but usually you just have to submit the slides in advance, and then you can say pending CLE credit, but they usually will accept it. So if you already have the presentation and the materials, you'll be able to get CLE credit for it, okay? Another tip, really important, and oh gosh, we're out of time. Invest in your website. Don't let it get to a crisis situation. It's the first place where people go to find out about you and your firm. I work with a firm that hasn't updated their site in 10 years. Everybody knows it. You go to their site, it looks like they're going under. Honestly, it looks like it's a firm that you worry, are they okay financially? Mm-hmm. And I feel you're laughing, but it's huge. This is your brand. You do not want to be in a crisis situation. I don't know what the industry standard is. I think it's less than 5 years at this point, but you need to invest in a website. Do not get yourself into a situation like that. Also, make sure your site meets the accessibility criteria that are necessary, especially if you handle any aspect of accessibility law. That's my advice on that. Okay, and then just finally, setting up a referral network with lawyers from other states is a great thing to do. Consider joining a lawyer association. So like my last firm was part of LAW. There's obviously Lex Mundi, there's many, many others. Encourage your lawyers to get involved in industry associations or alumni committees. A lawyer said to me, I don't want to be part of the New York City Bar Association or the ABA because I'm just going to meet other lawyers. And I was like, duh, like what part of that is a bad idea? Like,
Right.
And this was like a partner at a major law firm that was like, I want to meet clients. I'm like, dude, meeting other lawyers is a good thing too.
Yeah, I mean, along those lines, you don't know where that lawyer is going to go. I mean, there's been so much movement over the last year. I had talked about the people that left top 200 firms and went to other top 200 firms. A larger percentage of people went to in-house corporate positions in the last year. So it's just, I mean, that guy that might be at a competitive firm could potentially be a client of yours down the road.
Exactly. So like, or he could go in-house, he could whatever. The other thing I would say is like, I think, and then here's our LinkedIn QR codes again, guys. I think it's so important. I'm just going to stop sharing. I think it's so important to like consider teaching, right? So like if that's something of interest that also gives your lawyer some gravitas, and that's a great social post. It's also like, so that was something the lawyers, like it's a lot of work. I understand you may not want to do that. So maybe be a guest lecturer, but some of the lawyers at Tarter Krinsky, my last firm, they were guest lecturers at Fordham or, NYU. So if their alma mater, accepts that, they may want to reach out. So there were just a few questions here. So do I think repurposing podcasts as videos, vice versa, is a good idea? Absolutely. I didn't get to talk about video, but I do think video is a very important part of your social strategy and podcast as well. The thing is, there's a lot of podcasts out there. So if you're going to do it, you got to find a way to do it well. If you can use, so I would recommend if you do a podcast, you need to use like a JD Supra as a syndicator to get your podcast out there. And you also need to build a social network. So somebody asked me if I would help them build their LinkedIn presence. And I told them, well, you only have 300 LinkedIn connections. And so I can't really help you right now. Like you need to do the work on building your network. So you can't start a podcast with 300 connections. So there's a lot more that you need to do. But I would say, just focus on a few things, focus on a few areas. I hope this has been helpful to you guys. Outsource, use data. There are things you can do with alumni. Content is really important. LinkedIn is important. Webinars, just like we're doing here, free webinars. Lawyers always worry about giving away too many free things. My advice would be don't give away your slides or all of them. Pick a few. Lawyers freak out about giving away their intellectual property or their slides, thinking someone's going to copy them. Okay, so don't, or give away like 5 of them. I don't know what to tell you on that. So Phil, any parting words for the audience, and thoughts for small and mid-sized firms?
Well, I mean, I think you hit on a lot of stuff. I mean, you're certainly the marketing guru here. So I can only tell you just, again, based on the things that we've done, don't be afraid to reach out to your external resources, even if you're not a client. I know we put out infographics all the time. We put out content. We're going to have our State of the Legal Market Industry white paper next week, which is going to have a lot of great content. We do demos a lot for clients. We share some information about their firm, things that can be used by the firm internally. And, we do it because we want to build a relationship, just like a law firm would want to do it when they want to create their content to become a thought leader. So there's ways that firms could work with others that they value and they trust. And, I think there's a lot of folks out there that are willing to use their services to build relationships and develop a potential opportunity for business down the road.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I'm putting a link to sign up for my emails and Leopard's emails. Also, don't be afraid to say no. one of the things I've had to do is like push back. Like I said, would get myself in trouble with like just having too much on my plate, and I couldn't do it all. And they have to just understand that, like, you're doing a lot, and it's a lot of work. So don't be afraid to just sort of say, listen, I can't do all of these things, particularly if it's like a big scale project, like setting up a CRM or whatever. So yeah, and also remember, anybody and everybody's a potential lateral. So like there were some things in here. I think we're gonna do like a joint program with Leopard at some point this year about lateral strategies and like success strategies. So stay tuned for that. So I want to thank you guys for your time and for being such a great audience. We will send the recording of this and some follow-up materials. And we hope you guys have a great day and come to some other programs. Also, one of my dogs has been snoring the whole time, and I'm so sorry. Phil, did you hear the snoring?
And I didn't know, but maybe I'm just used to it, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks.
Oh, Deb Scaringi heard the snoring. Okay. Thanks, Deb. Take care. Bye.